Okay, let's unpack a really powerful idea today. What if everything you thought about success, about the
Yeah.
self-made individual, what if that's only part of the story?
Mhm.
We're diving into Malcolm Gladwell's, seminal work, Outliers, the story of success.
Yeah.
And our mission here is to kind of challenge those conventional narratives and explore the hidden forces behind extraordinary achievement.
And what's so fascinating, I think, is how Gladwell shifts the question. It's not just what makes high achievers different,
Right.
but why.
Uh-huh.
He really pushes us to look beyond just, talent.
Uh-huh.
He looks at this whole mix of hidden advantages, extraordinary opportunities, even cultural legacies. It's complex.
So where does he start with that?
Well, he kicks things off with the story about Roseto, Pennsylvania.
Oh, yeah, I remember that one.
Right. A town where doctors were just completely baffled. Almost no heart disease, despite a diet that wasn't, let's say, conventionally healthy.
So it wasn't about what individuals were eating.
Not primarily, no. The answer, Gladwell argues, was the town's unique social structure, this deep sense of community they had.
Huh.
It's this powerful metaphor he sets up. If you want to understand the tall tree, the successful individual, you have to look at the whole forest it grew up in, the environment.
That Roseto example is amazing. It really shows those invisible community forces. But then he gets into how small advantages can become huge, right? The Matthew effect.
Exactly, the Matthew effect. It's this sociological idea he brings in.
How does that work exactly?
Well, it's sort of a causal chain. A small, often unearned initial advantage.
Like being born at the right time.
Precisely. That leads to maybe being identified early as talented,
Okay.
which then gets you access to better resources, better coaching, more practice, maybe stronger teammates.
Right, so it builds on itself.
It builds and builds, and those skills develop faster, leading to this massive, sometimes irreversible lead over peers who started just slightly behind.
And the hockey example illustrates this perfectly.
Well, it's classic Gladwell. He points out how a huge number of elite Canadian hockey players are born in January, February, March.
Because of the cutoff date for the leagues, January 1st.
Yep. A kid born January 1st is playing against kids born maybe in November, December of the same year. They're almost a full year older, bigger, more coordinated at that crucial age.
Wow.
And the data backs it up. He cites the Ontario Hockey League, something like 147 top players born in the first quarter versus only 50 in the last quarter.
Despite birth rates being pretty even across the year.
Exactly. So it's not necessarily innate talent deciding everything. It's this circumstantial luck that just gets amplified. It really makes you question pure meritocracy, doesn't it?
It really does. It's almost uncomfortable. So if this kind of luck matters so much in hockey, how does this play out more broadly in society?
Well, yeah, that's where it gets really significant. Gladwell connects this to wider opportunity gaps. There was this big Boston College study, ran for 26 years.
Okay, what did it find?
It rigorously tracked kids and found these huge gaps in access to opportunities between low-income and higher-income households. Things they called life-affirming opportunities.
Well, like what kind of opportunity?
Things like extracurriculars, good schools, safe neighborhoods, mentorship, the kinds of things that help kids thrive.
And the difference was stark.
Massive. Less than 20% of the low-income kids got, I think, 4 or more of these opportunities by high school. But for higher-income kids, over 90%.
Wow, that's huge.
And the disparity was a powerful predictor of who went on to college, what they earned later. It really grounds Gladwell's ideas in hard social science.
Yeah.
Those opportunity gaps are real.
Okay, so bringing it back to famous examples. We all know the 10,000-hour rule, often linked to Gladwell. Is he saying that's wrong, or is there more to it? Especially for people like, say, the Beatles or Bill Gates.
Yeah, that's a really key point. He's not dismissing the hours, not at all. Effort matters. Right. But it's about the unique chance to even get those hours in. The Beatles, right? They played in Hamburg.
Hamburg Googs.
Over 1,200 times between 1960 and 64. These marathon, intense gigs. That wasn't just practice. It was this incredible, almost unique opportunity to forge their sound under pressure.
An opportunity most bands never got.
Exactly. And Bill Gates, yeah, brilliant guy, no doubt.
Mm-hmm.
But born in 1955. Perfect timing for the PC revolution.
Mm-hmm.
And his fancy high school had a time-sharing computer terminal back in 1968.
Which was incredibly rare then.
Almost unheard of. Most universities didn't have that kind of access. So he got thousands of hours of programming experience before almost anyone else his age. It was about that early, rare access.
So the opportunity enabled the hours.
Precisely.
Now, some people push back, right? They say Gladwell makes it sound like individual drive doesn't matter, like we're just products of circumstance.
Yeah, and that's a common misreading, I think. He's absolutely not saying effort is irrelevant.
Okay.
He's arguing it's not enough by itself.
Yeah.
There's that sociological principle. Individuals make their own choices, but not in conditions of their own. His goal isn't to tear down successful people. It's more about asking, why do we ignore so much potential? Why aren't we better at creating the conditions for success for more people?
Right. So thinking about the takeaway then, what does this all mean for you listening? This deep dive really feels like a call to action in a way.
Yeah, I think so. If success really is so dependent on these opportunities,
Which Gladwell argues convincingly it is.
then building a fairer, more equitable society means actively working to spread those opportunities much more broadly.
So shifting focus a bit.
Exactly. Shifting from only looking at individual merit, which is still important, to also really acknowledging how much culture, timing, and crucially access shape outcomes.
So maybe the final thought for you is this. Consider the hidden advantages you might have benefited from in your own life, things perhaps you took for granted.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe, more importantly, what could we achieve? What potential could we unlock if we actively looked for ways to create those critical opportunities for others? Really let the next generation flourish. Welcome to the Deep Dive. We dig into your sources, pull out the key insights, and basically help you get up to speed. Today, we're tackling a really big one. The 10,000-hour rule. You've heard of it, right? That idea, mostly from Malcolm Gladwell's Outliers, that, 10,000 hours makes you a master. It sticks in your head.
It really does stick. And that's kind of our goal here in this deep dive. We're going to pull that popular idea apart a bit, look at the sources, see what's myth, what's the more complicated truth behind it all?
Yeah.
We want to find that real outlier factor, what actually makes the difference beyond just, time spent.
Okay, let's unpack this. So, before Outliers, what did people generally think? How did someone become, super successful?
Well, the dominant story back then was very much the self-made person, innate talent, grit, just pure hard work. That was seen as pretty much the whole picture.
A very individual thing, like it was all on you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Very individual-centric. If you just worked hard enough, pulled yourself up, you'd get there.
But Gladwell really pushed back on that, didn't he? He basically said, whoa, wait a second.
He did. His point was that these outliers, these exceptional people, aren't just gifted individuals. They're more like statistical anomalies. Their success comes from this whole mix. Yeah, personal drive, but also things like cultural background, being born at the right time, getting unique chances, specific situations.
So the 10,000-hour rule wasn't the main point.
It was sort of a hook, a brilliant one, actually. It illustrates the extreme dedication needed, yeah. But then Gladwell uses it to pivot. He pivots to how incredibly rare the opportunity even was to get those 10,000 hours in the first place.
Yeah.
That's the key insight he was driving at.
Okay, that makes sense. It changes the focus. So if it's not just mindless repetition, what kind of practice actually matters for getting really good, like elite level?
Right, and that's where K. Anders Ericsson's work comes in, with the idea of deliberate practice. It's very different from just doing something over and over, which he might call naive practice.
Naive practice, like me trying recipes and hoping I become a chef.
Kind of, yeah. Naive practice leads to plateaus. Deliberate practice is intense, it's focused, you have super specific goals, and crucially, you need immediate feedback, knowing right away what went wrong, what worked, often from a coach or a mentor. You're constantly pushing yourself just outside your comfort zone, refining what Ericsson called mental representations, basically, your brain's detailed map of how to do the skill perfectly.
And the 10,000 hours number itself, where did that come from?
That specific number came from Ericsson's 1993 study, looking at violinists in Berlin. He found the very top students had averaged about 10,000 hours of deliberate practice by age 20. But importantly, it was an average for that specific elite group. It wasn't meant as some universal law or a guarantee. Gladwell's book definitely simplified that part for, impact.
Right, the simplification made it catchy. So the real linchpin is the opportunity to do all that focused, deliberate work. How does Gladwell show this? Maybe with the Beatles.
Exactly. The Beatles are a perfect example he uses. We think raw talent, right? But Gladwell points to their time in Hamburg, Germany. Between 1960 and 64, they played something like 1,200 gigs.
Wow. Wow, 1,200.
Yeah, sometimes 5, even 6 sets a night, 90 minutes each, 7 days a week. It was insane. That specific confluence of circumstances let them rack up way more than 10,000 hours of performance time, and the pay was terrible. Which meant they didn't need day jobs. They could just play, constantly honing their skills in front of live audiences, getting instant feedback. It was this intense incubator.
Okay, that paints a different picture. What about tech? Like Bill Gates. He's often the poster child for self-made.
Gates is another key example for Gladwell.
Mm-hmm.
His story is full of what you could call lucky breaks. His fancy private school, Lakeside, got a computer terminal way back in 1968. That was incredibly rare. Then, through connections, he basically unlimited access to more advanced computers at places like C-Cubed, Information Sciences, even Bonneville Power.
So he just had access others didn't dream of.
Unparalleled access, a whole series of really improbable events that let him pour thousands and thousands of hours into programming before he even left Harvard. And, Gladwell notes, being born in 1955 put him at the absolute perfect age for the start of the personal computer revolution. Timing was everything.
Okay, so opportunity is huge. But is practice really only a small part? You mentioned critiques.
Yeah, there are critiques. Academics have looked deeper. One big meta-analysis looking at like 88 different studies. It found that deliberate practice explained only about 12% of the difference in performance across many fields, sometimes much less.
Only 12%? That's surprisingly low. So if practice isn't the whole story, what else is going on?
Well, you absolutely have to bring innate talent back into the picture. Things like cognitive abilities, your working memory capacity, how much info you can juggle mentally. It's not just practice or just talent. The reality seems to be that natural ability and deliberate practice interact. They build on each other.
So it's talent plus practice plus math.
Talent plus preparation, that deliberate practice, and you have to add in luck and privilege, access, opportunity, timing. Those things matter. And remember, being world-class isn't static. It's always relative to who else is competing.
Right. So pulling this all together, what's the big takeaway for you listening? The 10,000-hour rule isn't quite a rule.
It's less a rule, more a metaphor, maybe. A powerful symbol for sustained, focused effort. But effort that crucially needs opportunity to even happen. Success, especially outlier success, looks much more like a group project, shaped by the individual, yes, but also by timing, culture, and sheer chance.
It definitely moves us past just admiring successful people to asking, okay, what systems, what chances allowed this to happen?
And for you, thinking about your own skills, there are things you can do. First, if you want to master something, commit to deliberate practice, not just hours, but focused, structured effort on your weaknesses. Second, you've got to actively figure out what you're not good at and push yourself there, outside that comfort zone. And third, find mentors. Get that objective feedback. They might even open doors to new opportunities you wouldn't find otherwise.
So the provocative thought maybe is, understanding incredible success isn't just about the individual's grind. It's about seeing the whole complex web, the person, the practice, and the platform they were given to stand on. We hear these inspiring stories all the time, right? About the lone genius, the totally self-made person. But, what if that story? What if it's missing something really crucial for you? Like, what if there are these hidden advantages, almost invisible forces, that actually play a much bigger part than we tend to think?
That is exactly what we're diving into today. Yeah, We're looking at something called the Matthew effect. It's this really powerful idea about how these initial advantages, sometimes ones people didn't even earn, can just snowball. They create these trajectories, these paths that kind of push back against the simple idea of pure meritocracy.
Okay, so our mission here is to cut through some of that noise. We want to give you the key ideas from the research, including Malcolm Gladwell's Outliers, of course, and share some pretty surprising stuff about how success really gets built. So let's start at the beginning, this Matthew effect. Where does that term even come from?
Well, it's interesting. It actually originates from a pretty striking biblical passage, the one that says, "For to all those who have, more will be given. But from him who has not, even what he has will be taken away."
Ah, okay.
Yeah. And then sociologist Robert K. Merton, back in 1968, he formalized it. He saw that really well-known scientists seemed to get way more credit, more opportunities than scientists who weren't as famous.
Even if the work was similar.
Even for comparable work, exactly. He even had this phrase, occupants of the 41st chair. It was his way of describing talented people who were just as deserving, but systematically overlooked. No seat at the table for them.
That's powerful. So it's not about individuals cheating the system. It's baked into the system itself.
Precisely. Yeah, it's what he called cumulative advantage. It's almost like a universal law you see in complex systems. A small initial edge just compounds and compounds over time, like a snowball rolling downhill.
Right, right. And Gladwell, he really made this concrete, didn't he, with that Canadian hockey example? That was fascinating.
Oh, absolutely. It's such a clear illustration. It basically all comes down to a totally arbitrary thing, your birth date. See, the cutoff for age class hockey in Canada is January 1st.
Okay.
So if you're a kid born on January 2nd, you're in the same league as someone born, say, late in December of that same year. But you're almost a full year older. You're physically bigger, more mature at that crucial age.
Wow. And that slight difference, especially when they're young, that must be huge developmental-wise.
It's massive. And they call this the relative age effect. Those slightly older, bigger kids, they get noticed earlier. They get picked for the elite rep teams, and then they get the better coaching. Way more ice time, more practice.
Ah, so the advantage starts compounding immediately.
Exactly. And the numbers back it up starkly. Something like 13.9% of Canadian NHL players are born in January. You'd only expect about 8.5% based on the general population birth rates.
That's a big difference.
It is. That tiny initial physical edge, purely from the calendar, kicks off this whole self-reinforcing cycle. It just beads and builds. It's not necessarily that they were born better players.
Okay, so beyond the ice rink, how universal is this? Is the Matthew effect something we see everywhere?
It really seems to be, yeah. Take education, for instance. Psychologist Keith Stanovich applied it to reading development. Kids who are strong readers early on, they tend to read more.
Makes sense.
Right. And because they read more, their vocabulary expands, their comprehension gets better, while the kids who struggle early, they often avoid reading.
So they fall further behind.
Exactly. It creates this widening language gap, as he called it. It's that same cumulative advantage pattern.
It sounds almost like compound interest in finance, the earlier you start.
That's a perfect analogy. Absolutely. Think about it like this. You've got two people, Alma and Dave. Alma invests, say, $10,000 when she's 31. And that's it. She stops. Dave starts later, at 41. He invests $2,000 every single year for 10 years. So he puts in $20,000 total, double what Alma invested. By the time they're both 50, Alma actually has nearly 15% more money than Dave.
Wow. Even though he invested twice as much.
Yep. Just because she started earlier. That initial advantage, that early start, just magnified itself over time. It's the same in careers, an early grant, an early publication. It creates momentum that's hard for others to catch up to, even with similar effort later on.
This does raise a really important question, though. Are we saying that individual effort, talent and hard work doesn't matter much?
No, not at all. That's not the takeaway. Effort and talent are absolutely crucial. But the point of the Matthew effect is that the return you get on that effort isn't always equal.
Ah, I see.
Yeah. It helps us see that maybe just telling someone to work harder isn't the whole picture. We need to look at the playing field itself.
So if that's the case, the solutions aren't just about individuals needing more grit.
Well, individual grit helps,
Yeah.
but the systemic solutions are key. Like in education, maybe focusing on really strong early intervention program so kids don't fall behind in the first place. You don't wait for them to fail. The idea is if a society really wants to maximize potential, it needs to think about building fairer systems, giving everyone a more equitable foundation to start from.
Understanding that small early boosts can have huge downstream effects.
So the Matthew effect really highlights what Gladwell termed the outlier paradox. This tendency we have to look at successful people and just attribute it all to their unique individual qualities. And we kind of become blind to these powerful background forces, these accumulated advantages that helped enable their achievement.
Exactly. And, recognizing this isn't about being cynical or taking away from anyone's hard work. It's actually more like a call to action. It's acknowledging reality so we can think smarter. How can we design better systems in schools, in sports funding, in how businesses identify talent? How do we create more genuinely level playing fields? So as you're thinking about all this, maybe consider this. Can you recognize times when you, or maybe people might have benefited from some kind of unearned head start? And maybe, how could you potentially use any advantage you have to open a door for someone else? Or maybe flip it around. Think about picking up a totally new skill, something where everyone starts truly from scratch, a real level playing field. What really stands out to you from all this? Okay, so today we're doing a deep dive into something, well, frankly, it's a bit baffling. A real paradox of human potential.
Mm-hmm.
You think about Christopher Langan. IQ estimated is somewhere between 195 and 210. I mean, that's higher than Einstein.
On the charts, yeah.
Yeah. For a lot of his life, he worked as a bouncer, a horse farmer, you know?
Right.
And then you contract that with someone like J. Robert Oppenheimer, also a genius, no doubt.
Absolutely.
But he had that really dark incident early on trying to poison his tutor, which is, wow.
Yeah, a major red flag, you'd think? Something that should have derailed him completely.
Exactly. But he didn't just survive it, he ended up leading the Manhattan Project. So if it's not just about raw IQ, what is it? What's that missing piece that turns intellect into, well, massive achievement?
That's the core question, isn't it? And looking at Langan and Oppenheimer, it becomes clear Langan had that incredible analytical intelligence, no question.
Right.
But Oppenheimer, he had something else, a kind of crucial know-how.
Know-how, like practical skills.
Exactly. The ability to, navigate complex social systems, to persuade people, negotiate, even manage the fallout from that poisoning attempt.
Yeah.
That's practical intelligence.
Street smarts, basically.
You could call it that. The kind of real-world savvy that Langan, for all his brilliance, seemed to lack.
Okay, I see that. But isn't there a danger? Practical intelligence just sounds like, I don't know, being good at office politics or something. Maybe even manipulation.
That's a fair point.
Yeah.
But it's really less about manipulation and more about effective interaction. Reading situations, understanding how to work with people and systems to get things done.
Okay.
And this idea, it's not entirely new. Think back to the 1920s. Louis Terman.
Oh, the big genius study guy.
That's the one. His genetic studies of genius. He followed, over 1,500 child prodigies, average IQ around 151.
Wow.
Yeah, he fully expected them to become the next Einsteins, the world leaders.
And did they?
Well, here's the fascinating part. They were successful, high graduation rates, good jobs, comfortable incomes.
But no world-changing figures. No Nobel laureates.
Pretty much none from the main group. And the real kicker, get this. Terman actually rejected 2 boys from his study because their IQs weren't quite high enough.
Oh, no. Let me guess.
Yep. William Shockley and Luis Alvarez both later won Nobel Prizes in physics.
That is incredibly ironic. So Terman missed the mark. What did his study actually show us then?
It actually sort of inadvertently gave us the threshold theory.
Threshold theory.
Yeah. It suggests that you need a certain amount of IQ, maybe around 120 or so, to even get in the door for complex fields. It's like an entry ticket.
Okay, like a baseline.
Exactly. But once you're past that threshold, having an even higher IQ doesn't automatically mean more success. The extra points become less important.
Ah, I see. Like height in basketball.
Perfect analogy. You probably need to be pretty tall to even have a shot at the NBA, right?
Sure.
But once you're looking at all the really tall players in the league, being a few inches taller isn't what makes you LeBron James or Michael Jordan.
Right. It's the other stuff, agility, how they see the court, their game sense.
Exactly. Skills beyond just height. And that's like practical intelligence compared to raw IQ.
Okay, so that analogy really helps. So can we define this practical intelligence a bit more? What is it?
Well, Robert Sternberg talks about it. He defines it as basically the mental toolkit you use to adapt to, shape, or choose your real-world environments to achieve your goals.
So less about abstract problems, more about navigating life.
Precisely. It's the know-how you don't really learn in a classroom. It's often tacit knowledge, stuff you pick up.
But how do we pick it up? Where does it come from?
That's where things get really interesting. Sociologist Annette Lareau's work is key here. She looked at parenting styles.
Okay.
She found 2 broad approaches. One she called concerted cultivation, often seen in middle and upper class families.
Concerted cultivation.
Yeah.
Sounds intense.
It kind of is. It's about actively developing kids' talents, reasoning skills. They're taught to question things, negotiate with authority figures, make institutions work for them. They develop a sense of entitlement in a way. Think Oppenheimer.
Right, feeling comfortable speaking up, challenging things.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Then there's the other style, accomplishment of natural growth, more common in working class families.
Natural growth.
Yeah, it's more hands-off. Kids have more independence, figure things out on their own. But crucially, they're often raised to be more deferential to authority, less likely to question or push back. Think Langan, maybe.
Wow. So our upbringing can literally shape how much practical intelligence we develop, how able we are to, navigate the system.
It seems to play a huge role. It shows how this crucial skill isn't just innate. It's forged by our environment, our experiences.
That adds a whole other layer to it. It's not just about the individual, but the context they come from.
Absolutely. So the picture that emerges is this. Analytical intelligence, your IQ, it gets you in the game. It opens the
Your
door.
threshold, right?
Right. But once you're in that complex arena, practical intelligence,
Right.
your ability to navigate, influence, persuade, adapt, that becomes the real differentiator for reaching the very top tiers of success.
Okay, so we need both, but practical intelligence might be the key variable at higher levels.
That seems to be the case, and this brings up a really important point.
Yeah.
What's really powerful here is the idea that practical intelligence isn't fixed like IQ might be. It seems to be a learnable skill set.
So you're not just stuck with what you got from your upbringing.
No, you can actively cultivate it, which is incredibly empowering, I think.
That is really encouraging. So for you listening, how can you start building this? Here are maybe a few ideas to chew on. First, really engage in conversations, especially with people you admire. Don't just talk, practice active listening. Ask good questions. It sharpens those social skills.
Good one.
Second, when you're working on a goal, think beyond just the technical steps. Ask yourself, how do I need to communicate? Who do I need to coordinate with? What are the social dynamics here?
Right, the human element.
Exactly. And maybe third, reflect on a past failure. But instead of just thinking, oh, I messed up step B, ask yourself, what could I have done differently in how I interacted with people? Was there a social or relational angle I missed?
That's a great exercise. Shifting the focus.
Yeah. Because ultimately, the world isn't just a technical problem to solve, is it? It's a dynamic social system you have to navigate effectively. Food for thought.
Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're taking a closer look at Bill Gates. You know, the name, it's basically synonymous with massive success, with genius.
Right. Groundbreaking stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But we often think of achievements like his as just, well, individual brilliance, right? A self-made story. What if it's more complex? What if his path wasn't just a solo journey, but maybe a perfect storm of timing, unique opportunities, and something else?
That's exactly what we want to unpack. You know, the standard narrative is often self-made, pure grit.
Right.
But we're going to look at Gates's journey through, let's say, a more nuanced lens today. We'll definitely lean on Malcolm Gladwell's Outliers to start, looking at those hidden forces.
Okay.
And then we want to push a bit further, maybe get an even richer picture. The mission, really, is to see how these rare circumstances met incredible individual drive to create something monumental.
Okay, so let's start with Gladwell then. He really pushes back against that self-made idea. He argues context, environment, historical timing. These aren't just footnotes, they're huge, right?
Absolutely huge. Gladwell gives us these really useful concepts. There's the 10,000-hour rule, the idea that mastery needs tons of deliberate practice.
10,000 hours.
Yeah. And then there's the Matthew effect. That's where, you know, early advantages tend to compound. They just snowball.
Like the hockey players he talks about.
Exactly. Those Canadian hockey players born like January, February, they tend to be slightly bigger, get picked for better teams earlier, get more coaching. And that initial small advantage just grows over time. It's a classic Matthew effect example.
So how clearly does this map onto Bill Gates?
Oh, it's almost a perfect fit. I mean, first, just the sheer luck of his birth year, 1955.
Okay, why in 1955?
Well, think about it. That meant he was hitting his late teens, early 20s, right when the personal computer revolution was just starting to bubble up.
The timing.
Exactly. It's what you might call critical historical alignment, just being the right age at the right moment in history.
But like you said, it wasn't just being born then. There had to be more.
Absolutely. That's where the Matthew effect really kicks in for Gates. At Lakeside School in Seattle, this was pretty unusual.
Lakeside? What was special about it?
Well, back in the late 1960s, a mother's club there actually fundraised to get a teletype terminal.
A teletype? In a high school?
In the 60s.
Yeah, connected to a mainframe computer.
Right.
This gave a, 13-year-old Gates and his friend Paul Allen incredibly early, almost unlimited access to computing time.
Wow.
Gates himself said the school just unleashed us. They apparently logged, well, maybe not exactly 10,000, but certainly thousands of hours programming.
So they hit that 10,000-hour mark way before almost anyone else their age.
Pretty much. Before most people even really knew what serious programming was.
Okay, that's a massive head start. How did that specific practice set them up?
Well, all those hours, that deep immersion, meant they were uniquely ready when the next piece fell into place. The perfect technological convergence.
Which was?
The Altair 8800. It came out in 1974.
Ah, the first real personal computer kit. Exactly, first commercially successful one. But it had this huge problem. It was basically a box of lights and switches. It needed software to do anything useful.
A big gap in the market.
A massive gap. And who was perfectly positioned with all those hours of coding experience to fill that gap?
Gates and Allen.
Right. They saw the Altair, saw the need for software specifically basic, and bam. They founded Microsoft in 1975 to write it. They were ready right when the market opportunity appeared.
Okay, so that really makes the case for timing, opportunity, Gladwell's 10,000 hours.
Yeah.
But does that mean individual drive, talent?
Mm-hmm.
Does that just not matter as much? Is it all just luck and circumstance?
Well, no, not entirely. Gladwell gives us a fantastic foundation for understanding the context, the environment. Super important.
Yeah.
But, critics sometimes point out, okay, 10,000 hours isn't always enough. Innate talent probably plays a role. The quality of the practice matters.
Right. You can practice the wrong thing for 10,000 hours.
Exactly. And this kind of leads us to think more about luck itself. It's not all the same, is it?
Okay, so how do we break that down? If it wasn't just dumb luck, what else was going on with Gates?
This is where categorizing luck can be helpful. So, yeah, his birth year. That's pretty much dumb luck. Pure chance, nothing he did.
Can't control when you're born.
Nope. But all that relentless programming at Lakeside, you could call that luck in motion. It's the kind of luck you find through sheer effort, through putting yourself out there, constantly doing the work.
Okay, so acting creates opportunities.
Precisely. Then, seeing the Altair and realizing its potential, recognizing that software gap, that looks like luck in preparation.
Meaning
He could only spot that opportunity because he'd done all the groundwork, built up all that knowledge. He was prepared to see it when others weren't.
I see. Preparation meets opportunity.
Right. And then later, as Microsoft got established, its reputation, its network, that starts to create luck unique to you. Opportunities start coming to you because of who you are and what you've built.
So it becomes a cycle. It wasn't just passive luck falling into his lap. He was actively shaping it.
Absolutely. His individual agency, his choices were crucial. Think about him dropping out of Harvard in 1975.
Yeah, a huge decision. Harvard.
It's huge. It wasn't just being impulsive. It was a calculated risk, right?
Yeah.
Driven by this really unique foresight he had. He saw that software was the future, maybe even more than the hardware itself.
Which wasn't the common view then.
Not at all. He made this massive personal sacrifice, leaving Harvard for this, kind of wild idea that he'd actually been preparing for, consciously or not, for years.
So putting it all together, Gates' story.
Yeah.
It's this incredible mix. It's the right time, the right place, the lucky breaks, yes.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also fused with this powerful individual vision, this relentless drive, and the willingness to take big risks.
Exactly. It really teaches us that these true outliers, they're often forged right at that intersection where intense preparation meets genuine opportunity.
Yeah.
And while, none of us can control our birth year, that dumb luck factor,
Yeah.
we can actively cultivate luck in preparation by constantly learning, staying curious. And we can generate luck in motion through persistence, through effort.
Like modern entrepreneurs using frameworks to analyze markets, trying to spot the timing.
Sort of, yeah. They might use something structured like a pestle analysis today to look at political, economic, social factors, trying to understand the timing and context. Gates did that intuitively, perhaps, assessing the whole burgeoning tech scene.
It's a really powerful reminder then, for you listening. Success isn't just about sitting back and waiting for good fortune.
Definitely not.
It's much more about actively preparing yourself, building your skills, putting in the effort so you're ready to seize opportunities when they arise, or maybe even create them yourself.
Well said. It's about converting circumstances, maybe even privileged ones, into something monumental through that active preparation, that vision, and just relentless effort. Keep cultivating your own luck.
That's all for this episode of the Deep Dive Cast. Thanks for joining us. We hope you gained some valuable insights. Be sure to tune in next time for another deep dive into the world's best ideas. Until then, keep learning and growing.